This paper looks at 10 years of experience with spending money in developing countries to help them respond to the impacts of climate change through international climate funds. Developing countries have contributed much less to the global buildup of greenhouse gas emissions than developed countries have, and as a result, developed countries have made commitments to provide them with funding in the context of efforts to agree on international responses to the global challenge of climate change. So this paper looks at the experience of the climate funds that these international processes have created. What have they achieved? How well are they working? And have they made a difference? This report finds that even though these funds may be small and people complain about how bureaucratic and inefficient they might be, they are funding the right things in the right places. They're funding wind farms in Mexico, more sustainable transport systems in Latin American countries like Colombia, early warning systems in places like Bangladesh to help people respond to and anticipate the impacts of weather-related disasters. But there are things they can be doing differently and be doing better. And in particular, we observe the need for them to take more risk. So to finance emerging technologies that may be less tested but really need finance in order for us to make the step changes in more low carbon and resilient development. And also to be taking more risk on things like currency. So while there may be pressure on funds to earn a return, for recipient countries it's much easier if they can have access to finance in their own currency, even if that may mean that the fund itself has less of a return on its investment. Those are risks that the funds could be taking that would make them more effective in their local context. I hope this research will help people understand the contribution that these funds really are making to helping developing countries respond to the impacts of climate change. But I hope it'll also help them appreciate the many things that we need to be doing better in order for us to be really achieving the goal that we have in mind. And that includes working much more closely and deeply with the right institutions within countries, including national government ministries, banks, businesses, and communities to find the ways that work in terms of delivering low carbon and climate resilient development instead of just working with the usual actors we already know and trust. I hope that it will help people understand that these funds need to take more risks and the right kinds of risks. And I hope that it will help people understand that if these funds are to really deliver on what they're supposed to deliver, then they need to be invested in at a much greater scale. And we need to really be putting money into institutions that we've created through such a time-consuming and careful process.